The Summit of Hope. Commander Elena Reeves stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching the last of the diplomatic vessels dock at the massive orbital platform. The station floated in neutral space, exactly 47 light-years from any claimed territory. It had been built specifically for moments like this, when the galaxy needed a place where enemies could meet without fear. Elena had been coming to this station for 12 years, and in all that time, she had never seen it fail to bring peace. Today felt different. Elena was 43 years old and had spent half her life as Earth's chief negotiator. She had resolved conflicts between species that could barely breathe the same air. She had found common ground between civilizations that had been at war for centuries. Other species called her the voice of reason. Some called her the bridge builder. To Elena, she was simply doing what humans did best, talking, listening, and finding solutions that let everyone walk away satisfied. Behind her, the conference hall was being prepared for the most important gathering in recent history. Representatives from 63 different species were arriving to sign the Accord of Coexistence, a treaty that would establish protected zones for developing civilizations and create new trade routes that would benefit hundreds of worlds. It had taken 3 years to negotiate, but Elena had done it. Earth had done it. Humanity had once again proven that words were stronger than weapons. The doors to the observation deck opened, and Ambassador Tkora entered. The Sylphony was one of Elena's closest colleagues, a being whose species had evolved on a world of endless forests and gentle rains. Tkora's skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that reflected her emotions. Right now, those patterns showed contentment mixed with anticipation. "Elena, my friend," Tkora said in her melodic voice. "This is a great day for all of us. Your species has given the galaxy another gift of peace." Elena smiled and placed her hand gently on Tkora's shoulder. The Sylphony were fragile compared to humans, with hollow bones and delicate frames adapted for climbing trees rather than fighting battles. They had never known war on their homeworld. Violence was foreign to their nature. "We all work together," Elena replied. "That's what makes this treaty special. 63 species choosing cooperation over conflict." Tkora's pattern shifted to show joy. "My people are already planning celebrations. We will plant memorial groves on every Sylphony world to honor this moment. Trees that will grow for 1,000 years, reminding future generations that peace is always possible." Elena felt a warmth in her chest. This was why she did this work. This was why humanity had chosen to be the galaxy's mediators rather than its conquerors. For 250 years, ever since making first contact with alien civilizations, humans had deliberately hidden their violent history. They had shown the galaxy only their best qualities, creativity, empathy, and an incredible talent for understanding different perspectives. The galaxy had welcomed Earth with open arms. Humans became the trusted third party in every major dispute. They ran the mediation services, trained diplomats from other species, and maintained the neutral stations where peace could be forged. It was a role humanity wore with pride. "The Dravix delegation has arrived," announced Lieutenant Chen from his position at the communications console. His voice carried a note of concern that made Elena turn sharply. "Already?" They weren't scheduled to dock for another 2 hours. They requested early boarding. Station command approved it. Elena exchanged a glance with Tkora. The Dravix Dominion was the one faction that had made these negotiations difficult. They were an empire built on conquest, controlling 47 star systems through military might. For the past decade, they had been expanding aggressively, absorbing smaller civilizations and forcing others into tributary relationships. The Dravix had only agreed to attend this summit after intense pressure from the Galactic Council. Their War Master Zethran had made it clear that his species considered the treaty an insult to their strength. But he had come anyway, and Elena had hoped that meant he was willing to find a path forward. "I should greet them," Elena said. "Protocol requires the chief mediator to welcome all delegations personally." Tkora's bioluminescent patterns flickered with worry. "Be careful, Elena. The Dravix do not think like we do. They respect only power." "Then I'll show them the power of peace," Elena replied with more confidence than she felt. The Dravix arrival. The docking bay was filled with security personnel from a dozen different species. Harmony Station had strict rules about weapons, but the Draviks had insisted on bringing an honor guard. Elena watched through the viewing window as their ship connected to the station. It was a vessel designed for intimidation, all sharp angles and dark metal, bristling with weapons that were supposedly deactivated. When the airlock opened, War Master Zethran emerged first. He was massive, standing nearly 8 feet tall on 4 powerful legs. His species had evolved as apex predators on a world of constant danger. Thick armored plates covered his body, and his 6 arms ended in claws that could tear through steel. His face was dominated by a crown of horns and eyes that glowed with predatory intelligence. Behind Zethran came 20 more Draviks warriors, each one a veteran of countless battles. They moved with the confidence of beings who had never known defeat. Elena straightened her uniform and walked forward to meet them. She had dealt with aggressive species before. The key was to show respect without showing fear. War Master Zethran, she said with a formal bow. Welcome to Harmony Station. We are honored by your presence. Zethran looked down at her with something that might have been amusement. Commander Reeves. The human who thinks words can stop armies. Words have stopped many armies throughout history, Elena replied calmly. Today they will help us build something better than conflict. We shall see. Zethran gestured to his warriors. Take us to the conference hall. I wish to see this great achievement of human diplomacy. As Elena led the Draviks delegation through the station's corridors, she noticed how other species reacted to their presence. Diplomats pressed themselves against walls to let the warriors pass. The smaller species looked terrified. Even the security personnel seemed nervous. The conference hall was magnificent. It had been designed to accommodate the different environmental needs of dozens of species. Temperature zones, atmospheric processors, and gravity adjusters made it possible for everyone to participate comfortably. The walls displayed artwork from hundreds of civilizations, each piece a symbol of cultural exchange and mutual respect. 63 seats were arranged in a circle, with Earth's position at the north point. It was a position of honor that humanity had earned through centuries of faithful service as mediators. The treaty documents were already prepared, translated into every language and displayed on holographic projectors above each seat. Impressive, Zethran said, but his tone suggested mockery rather than appreciation. You have built a beautiful cage for weak species to hide in. Elena kept her diplomatic smile in place. This hall represents cooperation, not weakness. Every species here has chosen to be part of something larger than themselves. Chosen? Zethran laughed, a sound like grinding stones. Some made that choice because they feared our fleets. Do not pretend this treaty is anything but surrender dressed in pretty words. Before Elena could respond, other delegations began arriving. Cora entered with the Sylphony representatives, their bioluminescent patterns showing hope and nervousness. The crystalline beings of the Nexera collective drifted in, their thoughts harmonizing in a chorus that resonated through the chamber. The aquatic Kelhari arrived in their environmental suits, and the gaseous Vortali manifested in their containment fields. For the next hour, the hall filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Scientists, philosophers, leaders, and peacekeepers, all gathered to sign an agreement that would reshape interstellar relations. Elena felt pride swelling in her chest. This was humanity's greatest achievement, proof that intelligence and compassion could overcome the brutal logic of survival. War Master Zethran watched it all with his glowing eyes, and Elena thought she saw something calculating in his expression. Something cold. The betrayal. The signing ceremony began exactly on schedule. Each delegation took turns approaching the central podium, where they would add their species confirmation to the treaty. The Sylphony went first, with Cora speaking beautiful words about unity and mutual growth. The Nexera collective followed, their crystalline representatives resonating with harmonics that translated into promises of shared knowledge. One by one, species committed themselves to peace. Elena felt her heart racing with excitement. After 3 years of negotiations, countless compromises, and endless patience, they had done it. The galaxy was choosing cooperation. Humanity's dream of a peaceful cosmos was becoming reality. Then it was the Dravik's turn. Warmaster Zethran rose from his seat and walked to the podium with deliberate slowness. His warriors remained seated, but Elena noticed they had positioned themselves strategically around the hall. Each one was near a cluster of delegates from smaller species. The Dravik's dominion, Zethran began, his voice carrying easily across the chamber, has listened to your words of peace. We have heard your promises of cooperation and mutual benefit. We have watched you celebrate your treaty of coexistence. He paused, and Elena felt something shift in the atmosphere. And we have decided that your weakness disgusts us. Before anyone could react, Zethran pulled a device from beneath his ceremonial armor. It was small, no larger than a human fist, but when he activated it, energy barriers sprang up around every exit. The conference hall's doors sealed with a terrible finality. Panic erupted immediately. Delegates rushed toward the exits, only to be thrown back by the energy fields. Security personnel reached for their weapons, but the Dravik's warriors were faster. From hidden compartments in their armor, they produced guns that hummed with deadly power. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Chancellor Vorin of the Kelhari. This is a violation of every diplomatic law. Zethran turned his glowing eyes toward the aquatic being. Your laws mean nothing. They are the rules of prey animals trying to pretend they are not prey. Elena's mind raced through possibilities. The emergency systems should have detected those weapons. Station security should be responding. But the energy barriers were blocking all communications. The Draviks had planned this carefully. Warmaster, please, Elena said, forcing her voice to remain steady. Whatever grievances you have, we can address them through proper channels. This station is protected by ancient treaties. If you harm anyone here, every species in the galaxy will unite against you. Zethran laughed again. Unite? These weaklings? Look at them, Commander Reeves. They are already broken. He was right. The delegates were cowering, huddling together in groups based on their defensive capabilities. The Sylphony were weeping, their bioluminescent patterns flashing with terror. The crystalline Nexera were emanating distress signals that resonated painfully through the hall. For 250 years, Zethran continued, humanity has poisoned the galaxy with ideas of peace and cooperation. You have made species forget the fundamental truth of existence, only the strong survive. Today, we will remind everyone of that truth. He gestured to his warriors. Begin the demonstration. What happened next would haunt Elena for the rest of her life. The Dravik's warriors opened fire on the closest delegates. The Sylphony died first, their fragile bodies unable to withstand the energy weapons. Cora screamed as the warrior nearest her aimed his gun. Elena tried to run toward her friend, but two Draviks grabbed her arms and held her in place. You will watch, Zethran commanded. You will witness what happens to those who choose weakness. Cora looked at Elena one final time. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin showed love and forgiveness. Then the warrior fired, and the Sylphony ambassador dissolved into ash. Elena screamed. She fought against the warriors holding her, but they were impossibly strong. Around the hall, the other delegates were being systematically executed. The Draviks made it slow and cruel. They wanted maximum terror, not efficiency. Chancellor Vorin and his Kelhari delegation died trying to shield the smaller species. The Nexera collective shattered into 1,000,000 crystalline fragments. The Vortali dissipated as their containment fields were breached. 63 species, 63 voices that had chosen peace, silenced forever. The Dravik's warriors made sure to record everything. Cameras captured every moment of horror, every plea for mercy, every death. When it was over, only the human delegation remained alive. Elena and her team stood surrounded by the bodies of beings they had called friends and colleagues. The conference hall that had represented hope now looked like a slaughterhouse. Blood from dozens of species stained the beautiful artwork on the walls. Warmaster Zethran approached Elena. She looked up at him with eyes full of rage and grief. Why, she whispered. Why did you do this? To teach the galaxy a lesson, Zethran replied. He activated a communication device that overrode the energy barriers. His broadcast would reach every inhabited system. Citizens of the galaxy, what you are about to see is the future. The age of peace is over. The Dravik's dominion will no longer tolerate weakness. Every species must choose, submit to our strength or be destroyed like these fools. The recording played, showing the massacre in graphic detail. Then Zethran turned the camera on Elena. The humans will continue to serve us, he announced. They are useful tools who know how to make weak species surrender without fighting. Commander Reeves will help us convince others to submit peacefully. If they refuse, they will die like the cowards who came here today believing in treaties and cooperation. He grabbed Elena's face, forcing her to look at the camera. Tell them, human. Tell them that peace is dead. Elena stared into the camera. Her mind was in shock, but somewhere deep inside, something else was awakening. Something humanity had kept buried for 250 years. No, she said quietly. Zethran's eyes narrowed. What did you say? Elena looked directly at him. I said no. We will never serve you. Zethran struck her across the face, sending her crashing to the floor. Then you are useless to us. Perhaps we should kill all humans and find a more obedient species to do our negotiations. You should have killed us, Elena said, tasting blood in her mouth. You should have killed us first. Zethran laughed. Threats from a pacifist? Your species has not fought a real war in centuries. You are diplomats, not warriors. Elena smiled, and it was not a diplomatic smile. We're whatever we need to be. You're about to learn the difference. The War Master dismissed her words and ordered his warriors to leave. They would take the recordings and spread them across the galaxy, showing what happened to those who believed in peace. Elena and the surviving humans were left alone in the Hall of the Dead. Lieutenant Chen approached Elena carefully. His face was covered in tears. Commander, what do we do? Elena stood slowly. She looked around at the bodies of the 63 delegates. She looked at the ashes that had been Cora. She looked at the treaty documents still displayed above each empty seat. Send a message to Earth, she said. Her voice had changed. It was colder now, harder. Tell them exactly what happened here. Every detail. Every death. And then? Chen asked. Then tell Earth Defense Command that Commander Elena Reeves requests the immediate recall of all human diplomatic personnel from every station in the galaxy. Commander? Elena walked to the observation window. Outside, the Dravik's warships were already moving away from Harmony Station, heading toward their next targets. In the distance, she could see the lights of peaceful civilizations that had no idea what was coming. Tell them the age of human diplomacy is over, Elena said quietly. Tell them it's time to stop pretending. For the next 96 hours, Earth went completely silent. No response to Galactic Council emergency sessions. No statements about the massacre. No diplomatic protests or calls for justice. Human stations across the galaxy began evacuating their personnel without explanation. Human mediators working on dozens of peace negotiations simply disappeared. The galaxy waited in confusion and fear, wondering how the peaceful species would respond to this unprecedented act of violence. They would not have to wait much longer. In bunkers deep beneath Earth's surface, in hidden bases scattered across human colonies, in the command centers of ships that had pretended to be civilian vessels for generations, humanity was waking up. And what emerged from that awakening was something the galaxy had never seen before. Something the galaxy had never wanted to see. The humans had been peaceful for 250 years. They had chosen to hide their history, to suppress their nature, to show the galaxy only their better angels. That choice was ending. War Master Zethran had made one critical mistake. He had assumed that humanity's peaceful behavior meant humans were peaceful beings. He had confused a choice not to fight with an inability to fight. The difference would cost him everything. The unmasking. Commander Elena Reeves stood in the Global Defense Command Center, a facility buried 3 miles beneath the surface of Earth. Most species in the galaxy did not know this place existed. For 250 years, humanity had maintained the fiction that they were a peaceful species with only minimal defensive capabilities. The truth was far more complex. The command center was massive, stretching across multiple underground levels. Holographic displays showed every human asset in known space, thousands of installations and ships that the galaxy believed were civilian infrastructure. But those displays could shift at the touch of a button, revealing what those assets truly were. Around Elena stood the people who had been keeping humanity's greatest secret. General Sarah Cross commanded Earth's actual military forces. Admiral James Morrison controlled the fleet operations. Dr. Christine Park headed the Weapons Research Division. Colonel Robert Jong ran the Special Operations Forces. These were the guardians of humanity's hidden nature. "The evacuation is complete," General Cross reported. Her voice was steady, but Elena could see the anger burning in her eyes. "Every human diplomat, mediator, and peacekeeper has been withdrawn from alien territory. We've also recalled all personnel from joint operations and mixed stations." "How many people are we talking about?" Elena asked. 73,000 diplomats and support staff. Another 150,000 from various civilian positions that were actually military intelligence gathering operations. Elena felt a weight settle on her shoulders. Over 200,000 humans had been playing roles, maintaining the peaceful facade that humanity had worn for centuries. Now all of them were coming home. "The Galactic Council is demanding answers," Admiral Morrison said. "They're sending emergency messages every hour. They want to know why we've gone silent." "Let them wonder," Colonel Jong said coldly. "After what happened at Harmony Station, they should be grateful we're taking time to think before we respond." Elena walked to the central display, which showed the massacre footage that the Draviks had broadcast across the galaxy. She had watched it 17 times since returning to Earth. Each viewing made her angrier, but she forced herself to keep watching. She needed to remember why they were about to do what they were about to do. "The Draviks have already begun their next offensive," Dr. Park reported. "Intelligence indicates they're moving against the Rillian Confederacy. 32 peaceful worlds that have no military defenses worth mentioning." "How long until they reach Rillian space?" Elena asked. "For days at their current speed." Elena looked at the faces around her. These people had spent their entire careers maintaining humanity's peaceful image. They had trained diplomats, negotiated treaties, and helped countless species avoid war. Now they were preparing to do something completely different. "Is everyone in agreement?" Elena asked. "Once we start this, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way again." General Cross stepped forward. "They already chose how they see us, Commander. The Draviks murdered 63 diplomatic representatives and broadcast it as entertainment. They declared that peace was weakness and that only strength matters. We can either accept that and become victims, or we can remind the galaxy why humanity chose to be peaceful in the first place. Because we're very good at the alternative," Admiral Morrison added quietly. Elena nodded slowly. "Then let's show them. Admiral Morrison, prepare the broadcast. It's time the galaxy learned the truth about humanity." 20 minutes later, Elena stood in front of cameras that would transmit her message to every inhabited system in known space. She had changed out of her diplomatic uniform and into something she had not worn in years, the combat uniform of Earth's actual military. The insignia on her collar marked her as a commander in Earth Defense Forces, not the diplomatic corps. When the cameras activated, she began speaking. "Citizens of the galaxy, this is Commander Elena Reeves of Earth. For days ago, War Master Zethran of the Dravik's Dominion murdered 63 diplomatic representatives on Harmony Station. They were killed while attending a peace summit, while signing a treaty that would have benefited hundreds of species. The Draviks called this a demonstration of strength." Elena paused, letting her words sink in across countless worlds. For 250 years, humanity has served as the galaxy's mediators. We have resolved 1,847 conflicts through peaceful negotiation. We have prevented countless wars and helped create prosperity for species that chose cooperation over conquest. We did this because we believed the galaxy could be better than the violent histories of our individual species. She looked directly into the camera. The Draviks have shown us that the galaxy does not want peace. It wants strength. Very well. From this moment forward, Earth is recalling all diplomatic personnel from every station and every world. We are closing our embassies. We are ending our mediation services. We are withdrawing from the Galactic Council. Across the galaxy, beings stopped what they were doing to watch this unprecedented announcement. For 250 years, we chose to show you only one side of humanity. We chose to be the species that talked instead of fought. We chose to hide what we really are. The Draviks have forced us to stop hiding. Elena's expression hardened. Effective immediately, humanity will respond to threats using the methods our ancestors would have used. We spent 2.5 centuries proving we were better than our violent past. You have chosen to reject that gift. We are done being civilized. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate and varied. Some species felt relief, hoping humanity would protect them from the Draviks. Others felt fear, wondering what humanity really was if they had been hiding their true nature for so long. The Draviks felt only contempt, convinced that humans were bluffing. War Master Zethran would learn otherwise very soon. The hidden arsenal. On the agricultural colony of New Harvest, farmer Michael Torres received a message that made him smile for the first time in 4 days. He had been sick with grief since seeing the Harmony Station massacre. His sister had been part of the diplomatic team. She had died in that conference hall. The message was simple: authorization code Omega-7. Military protocols activated. Report to your actual station. Michael walked to his barn, which looked like any other farming structure on the colony. He placed his hand on a scanner hidden behind a feed container. The entire floor of the barn descended, revealing an elevator that went down 200 feet. At the bottom was a military command center that could coordinate an entire planetary defense network. Michael Torres was not really a farmer. He was Colonel Michael Torres, commander of the 7th Tactical Response Division. The farm above was real and produced actual crops, but it was also a cover for one of humanity's hidden military bases. Across New Harvest and 100 other agricultural colonies, the same transformation was happening. Fields that grew wheat and corn also concealed underground bunkers filled with weapons and equipment. Barns hid fighter craft. Irrigation systems doubled as sensor networks. Peaceful farmers became soldiers again. In the Proxima Research Cluster, Dr. Sarah Kim received similar orders. For 15 years, she had been running a medical research station that studied alien biology and developed new healing techniques. She had saved thousands of lives and published groundbreaking papers on cross-species medicine. She was also Commander Sarah Kim of the Special Weapons Division. Her research station transformed in minutes. Laboratories that studied medicine revealed secondary purposes. The gene sequences she used to develop treatments could also create biological weapons tailored to specific species. The medical scanners that diagnosed diseases could map the weaknesses of alien physiology. The hospital ships docked at her station were actually mobile command platforms. How many people knew? Asked her assistant, a young researcher named David Chen, who was only now learning the truth. Every human in a position of responsibility, Commander Kim replied as she activated weapon systems that had been hidden in plain sight for decades. We all knew. We all chose to keep the secret because we believed the galaxy deserved a chance to be better. And now? Commander Kim looked at the tactical displays showing Dravik's fleet movements. Now we show them what humanity is like when we stop trying to be better. Similar scenes played out across human space. Mining operations revealed themselves as weapons platforms. Trading stations activated military-grade defenses. Survey ships that had been charting new systems for scientific purposes transformed into reconnaissance vessels with capabilities that exceeded most species' military technology. The scale of humanity's deception was staggering. For 250 years, every human in space had been playing a role. Teachers who educated alien children were also intelligence operatives. Doctors who treated injured aliens were also gathering biological data. Engineers who helped build alien infrastructure were also mapping their defensive capabilities. Humanity had not forgotten how to fight. They had simply chosen not to for a very long time. Captain Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of what the galaxy knew as the civilian cargo hauler Peaceful Trader. The ship had been carrying agricultural supplies and manufactured goods between human and alien worlds for 20 years. Marcus had spent those 20 years pretending to be a merchant captain interested only in profit and good relations. "Drop the camouflage," he ordered. His crew moved with practiced precision. Panels on the ship's hull slid aside, revealing weapons batteries that had been concealed for 2 decades. The cargo holds, which actually did carry real goods to maintain the cover, opened to show fighter bays and missile launchers. The ship's engines, which had been running at a fraction of their capability, powered up to full strength. The Peaceful Trader transformed into the UES Retribution, a heavy cruiser with firepower equivalent to an entire Dravix battle group. "All systems operational," reported his tactical officer. "We're receiving similar confirmations from the rest of the fleet. 3,000 ships are ready for combat operations." Marcus looked at the display showing human vessels across the galaxy. Each one was revealing its true nature. Cargo haulers became warships. Science vessels became carriers. Even the small personal transports that humans used for travel had hidden weapons and advanced engines. "Set course for Dravix territory," Marcus ordered. "It's time to introduce ourselves properly. First contact Redux." Commander Vex of the Dravix 3rd Scouting Fleet felt nothing but contempt as his sensors detected human ships approaching. He commanded 5 destroyers, more than enough to handle whatever pathetic resistance the humans might offer. The galaxy's diplomats would be easy prey. "Visual confirmation of human vessels," his sensor operator reported. "I count 12 ships. They appear to be cargo haulers and research vessels." Vex laughed. "The fools are trying to intimidate us with civilian craft. This will be amusing. Prepare to fire. We will destroy them and send the wreckage back to Earth as a message." But as the human ships came into range, something strange happened. The vessels that had looked like civilian craft were changing. Hull panels were sliding aside. Weapons were emerging. The energy signatures his sensors were detecting did not match any civilian technology in known space. "Commander, those ships are not civilian," his tactical officer said with growing alarm. "I'm reading weapon systems more advanced than our own. Their power output is—" "Commander, this is impossible. Those ships have more firepower than our entire fleet combined." Vex stared at his displays in disbelief. "They're bluffing. It's some kind of holographic trick. All ships, open fire." His fleet launched their most powerful weapons at the human vessels. Missiles and energy beams that could destroy planets streaked through space toward the targets. The human ships responded with precision that seemed almost casual. Point defense systems intercepted every missile. Energy shields absorbed the beam weapons without even flickering. Then the humans fired back. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists for generations. The Battle of Proxima, as it would later be called, lasted exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. In that time, all 5 Dravix destroyers were reduced to debris. Not one human ship was even scratched. The few Dravix who managed to reach escape pods brought back reports that their superiors refused to believe. They spoke of weapons that fired faster than thought, of defensive systems that made their ships invulnerable, of technology that made Dravix military might look primitive. Warmaster Zethran dismissed the reports as cowardice and panic. "The humans are merchants and diplomats," he insisted. "They are incapable of real military action. Send the 5th Battle Fleet to investigate. Whatever tricks they used will not work against a proper military force." The 5th Battle Fleet consisted of 30 capital ships and twice that many support vessels. It was enough force to conquer most civilizations. They arrived at the Proxima system expecting to overwhelm any human resistance through sheer numbers. Instead, they found a graveyard of Dravix ships and a human fleet that was waiting for them. "This is Captain Marker Stone of the United Earth ship Retribution," came the transmission. "You have entered a restricted military zone. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or you will be destroyed." The Dravix commander responded with weapons fire. The battle lasted 9 minutes. 30 Dravix capital ships were destroyed. The human fleet did not lose a single vessel. Some ships were damaged, but none were destroyed. The difference in technology and tactical capability was overwhelming. This time, the Dravix could not dismiss the reports. Video evidence showed human ships moving with impossible speed and precision. Weapons that fired projectiles at relativistic speeds. Defensive shields that could withstand anything the Dravix threw at them. Most terrifying of all was the cold efficiency of the human tactics. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation, no mercy. The systematic response. Over the next 3 weeks, human military forces swept through Dravix territory with methodical precision. They were not just fighting battles. They were dismantling an empire. Human intelligence operatives, who had been posing as merchants and travelers for decades, activated and began sabotaging Dravix infrastructure. Supply lines were disrupted. Communications were jammed. Command and control systems were hacked and taken over. Human special forces teams appeared on Dravix-occupied worlds, liberating enslaved populations and destroying military installations. They moved like ghosts, striking from nowhere and disappearing before the Dravix could respond. Human battle fleets engaged Dravix forces at every strategic location, and the outcome was always the same. The Dravix fought bravely and with determination, but they were outmatched in every category. Human weapons were more powerful. Human ships were faster and more maneuverable. Human tactics were more sophisticated. But what truly terrified the Dravix was the coldness of human warfare. For 250 years, the galaxy had known humans as warm, empathetic beings who cared deeply about the well-being of others. The humans who were now fighting the Dravix showed none of that warmth. They were efficient, ruthless, and completely focused on victory. When Dravix forces tried to use civilian populations as shields, human special forces extracted the civilians first and then destroyed the military targets anyway. When Dravix commanders tried to surrender, humans accepted the surrender and then systematically dismantled every piece of military infrastructure the Dravix had built. The galaxy watched in shock as humanity revealed itself to be something completely different from what they had believed. These were not the gentle diplomats who had mediated their disputes. These were warriors who had been hiding their true nature for centuries. On the 4th week of the campaign, human forces surrounded the Dravix homeworld. Warmaster Zethran's flagship was trapped in orbit, unable to escape and unable to win. The final judgment. Elena Reeve stood in the hangar bay of the UES Retribution as the boarding team prepared to enter Zethran's captured flagship. She had requested to be present for this moment. The Dravix had made this personal when they murdered 63 diplomats and forced her to watch. The boarding action was swift and efficient. Human marines in powered armor moved through the Dravix ship, neutralizing resistance and securing the vessel. Within an hour, Warmaster Zethran was brought before Elena in chains. He looked smaller now, without his weapons and his warriors. His armor was damaged, and his glowing eye showed something Elena had never expected to see from him: fear. "Commander Reeves," Zethran said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. "I wish to negotiate terms of surrender. The Dravix are willing to discuss reparations and territorial concessions. Surely we can find a diplomatic solution." Elena looked at him with cold eyes. "Now you want to negotiate? Now you believe in diplomatic solutions?" "I underestimated your species," Zethran admitted. "I did not realize humans possess such military capability. But surely we can find common ground. That is what your kind does, is it not? You find ways for enemies to make peace." Elena walked closer to him. "Do you remember Ambassador Tkora of the Sylphony?" Zethran's expression showed confusion. "Who?" The first delegate you murdered at Harmony Station. She had bioluminescent skin and spoke about planting memorial groves. She believed in peace so deeply that she could not imagine anyone would violate diplomatic sanctuary. Do you remember her? Commander, I have killed many beings. I do not remember every. She was my friend, Elena interrupted. She saved my life once, during a medical emergency on Sylphan Prime. She trusted humanity to protect her. She believed our promises that Harmony Station was safe. Zethran said nothing. Do you remember Chancellor Vorin? Dr. Helix? Ambassador Crane? The 63 beings who came to that station believing they were protected by ancient laws and human guarantees. War has casualties, Zethran said weakly. Surely you understand this now. Your own military has killed thousands of my people. Yes, Elena agreed. We have. And we will kill thousands more before this is done. But there is a difference, Zethran. Every Dravix who died in this war was a combatant who chose to fight. Every being you murdered was a diplomat who chose to seek peace. She gestured to the Marines guarding him. Take him to the brig. He will stand trial for war crimes, along with every other Dravix commander who participated in the Harmony Station massacre. You cannot do this, Zethran protested. I am a war master. I demand to be treated with the honors due to my rank. Elena leaned close to him. You declared that the age of peace was over. You announced that only strength matters. Congratulations, War Master. You taught the galaxy that lesson very well. Now you get to learn what happens when you make humanity strong instead of peaceful. The trial of Dravix war criminals lasted 3 weeks. It was broadcast across the galaxy, showing in explicit detail every crime the Dravix had committed. The evidence was overwhelming. Human intelligence services had been documenting Dravix atrocities for years, waiting for the day they might be needed. War Master Zethran and 47 other senior Dravix commanders were found guilty and executed. It was done efficiently and without ceremony. The Dravix Empire was broken apart, with occupied worlds being liberated and returned to their original populations. The galaxy watched and learned. The New Order. 6 months after the Harmony Station massacre, Commander Elena Reeve stood once again at an observation deck, looking out at ships gathering for a conference. But this gathering was very different from the last one. The conference was being held on Earth, in a facility controlled entirely by human military forces. Every species that had lost diplomats at Harmony Station had been invited. Also invited were the dozens of civilizations that the Dravix had oppressed. But there would be no peace treaty today. This was not a negotiation. Commander Reeves, said Ambassador Keln of the Rillian Confederacy. My people wish to thank humanity for liberating us from Dravix occupation. We also wish to request that Earth resume its mediation services. The galaxy needs your diplomatic expertise now more than ever. Elena looked at the ambassador, a gentle being whose species had never developed weapons more dangerous than farming tools. No. I do not understand. Humanity will not resume diplomatic services, Elena explained. We will not mediate your conflicts or negotiate your treaties. We gave the galaxy 250 years of peace. That gift was rejected. But the Dravix are defeated, another ambassador protested. Surely now we can return to the old ways. The old ways got 63 diplomats murdered, Elena said flatly. The old ways taught aggressive species that peace was weakness and that talking was a substitute for strength. We will not make that mistake again. General Cross stepped forward. Humanity will maintain a military presence in key strategic locations throughout the galaxy. We will protect species that cannot protect themselves, but we will do it our way, with our rules. And what are your rules? Ambassador Keln asked nervously. Simple, Elena replied. Any species that attacks another will face human military response. Any species that commits atrocities will be held accountable. Any species that violates the basic principles of civilization will be stopped. You are describing an empire, someone said from the back of the room. No, Elena corrected. We are describing protection. The galaxy wanted strength to be the ruling principle. Fine. But humanity will decide what strength means. And we say that strength means protecting the weak, not exploiting them. The ambassadors exchanged nervous glances. This was not the humanity they had known. What about diplomacy? Ambassador Keln asked. What about negotiation and compromise? Elena's expression softened slightly. We will still help species resolve conflicts peacefully when both sides genuinely want peace. But we will not waste our time pretending that everyone can be talked into cooperation. Some beings only understand force. The Draviks taught us that lesson, and we will not forget it. That night, Elena stood alone in her quarters, looking at a holographic image of the Harmony Station memorial. It showed the names of all 63 murdered diplomats, with Tkora's name at the top. Lieutenant Chen found her there. Commander, the Council is asking if we will consider rejoining. Tell them we will maintain observer status only. We will share intelligence and coordinate on matters of galactic security, but we will not return to being the galaxy's mediators. They will not like that answer. I know. Elena continued looking at the memorial. Do you think we made the right choice, Chen? Revealing what we really are. Chen was quiet for a moment. I think the Draviks left us no choice. But I also think we lost something important. The galaxy respected us. Now they fear us. Fear and respect are not mutually exclusive, Elena replied. And maybe a little fear is necessary. For 250 years, we tried to show the galaxy that intelligence and empathy could create a better civilization. We tried to prove that violence was not the answer. And we were wrong. Not completely wrong, but naive. Peace only works when everyone chooses it. When someone decides that violence is the better option, you need to be able to respond with overwhelming force. Otherwise, you just become a victim. Elena turned off the memorial display. The Draviks wanted to teach the galaxy that weakness dies. Instead, they taught humanity that being civilized is a luxury we can only afford when our strength is unquestionable. So what are we now? Chen asked. Elena looked out at the stars, where human warships patrolled space that had once been traveled only by diplomatic vessels. We are what we have always been. A species capable of great mercy and terrible vengeance. For 250 years, we showed the galaxy our mercy. The Draviks forced us to show our vengeance. She picked up a data pad containing reports from across human space. Everywhere, the transformation was complete. Humans who had been diplomats were now military commanders. Stations that had hosted peace talks now coordinated defense networks. Ships that had carried delegations now carried weapons. Send a message to all human personnel, Elena ordered. We gave the galaxy 250 years of our better nature. They chose to see our worse. From now on, humanity will be whatever the galaxy needs us to be, not what we wish we could be. Chen saluted and left to deliver the orders. Elena returned to looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, species that had once known humans as gentle peacekeepers were learning to fear them as warriors. It was not the future humanity had wanted, but it was the future the galaxy had chosen. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human strength had begun. And the galaxy would learn that there was a reason humanity had chosen to be peaceful for so long. Because when humans decided to stop being civilized, they were very, very good at it.